Welcome to the Silver Screen Podcast. I'm Jared Boomer.
And I'm Katie Gainey West. This is a podcast about movies and pop culture.
And today it's one of our favorite episodes that we do the entire year. It's our top 10 movies of 2025. And we're also going to be talking about the Oscar nominations. Very, very exciting. Lots of stuff to discuss on this episode. You seem very excited, so...
I am, but I wish I had a sound effect or something.
Oh, that would be fun. You know, we do have the Crush Alert sound effect. Maybe we could get another sound effect for you. You have not used the Crush Alert sound effect too often in the past couple months.
Timothy knows what he did, okay? More on that later.
He's banned from the Crush Alert. Okay, well, we're going to get into our top 10 movies later on in the episode, so definitely stick around for that. But first, we want to talk about the Oscar nominations, and those were announced a couple of weeks ago when you're hearing this. Of course, they always announce them at 5 a.m. in the morning Los Angeles time. I don't know why they do that, but they always pick two actors that are like semi-popular that like you've heard of, but not really big name actors, because no big name actor wants to get up then and announce the Oscar nominations. So,
I would.
I think that would be a lot of fun. So,
yeah. Also, Jared, I didn't mean to bring this up now, but I forgot to text you and mention that I watched all of the Golden Globes. And when Amy Poehler won for Best Podcast, I know you and I joked about, oh my gosh, we should see if we can get nominated. But if we're going to lose to anybody, I'm glad it was Amy Poehler.
Yeah, we did not make the top 5 nominees. I'm assuming we were
nominated
on the list somewhere. Yeah,
right.
I'm assuming we were on the short list, but they didn't have us in the top 5. So
no, but Amy deserves. You know, Amy, I get it, and she has more people invested in her at this point.
But I think we could have kicked Dax Shepard out of that category
for sure.
And put us in there.
Close call. It was a close call. But I'm really proud of us and happy for Amy.
Yes, great job with Amy. She's only been doing her podcast, I think, a year. So, wait till you get to like 5 or 6 years, Amy. Then talk to us.
I know.
Once you've like done a couple hundred episodes.
Maybe we could give her some pointers.
Exactly. So we do have some notable things that happened at the Golden Globes. We had Wagner Moura, who was the first Brazilian to win Best Actor in a Drama. So that was very exciting. We had some other things that happened as well. Jean Smart, the oldest woman to win Best Actor in Comedy. Maggie Kane was the first Asian woman to win Best Picture Animated. And then Jessie Buckley was the first Irish woman to win Best Actor in a Drama. So lots of diversity there with different races and cultures and ages, all kinds of stuff. So that's good to see. Now, granted, the Golden Globes are not as prestigious as the Oscars, but sometimes they still do have an impact on the Oscars. So, I still say they are relevant. Nikki Glaser hosted once again. I saw some clips. She seemed like she was pretty funny. She's done that the past couple years now, so I think she's kind of like in a Golden Globes hosting group.
She's not my favorite, but I thought she did a fine job. I don't know that I'd go so far as to say good. Like I am glad they're putting a woman as the host. I will always support that. And she's really pretty, but she's even talked about how much she's had done. She makes jokes about it all the time. I'm like, we get it, Nikki. But she made a joke, like a very sexual joke, towards Michael B. Jordan, which I think all of us, me, was like, I get it, like giggling as an audience member. But his mom was not pleased, and that was embarrassing to watch because she was his date, and so she was next to him. But she did make a hilarious joke about Leonardo DiCaprio. And Leo, I really go back and forth about Leo. We've talked about this on the podcast, especially he went to Bezos' wedding last year, and I was really disgusted by that. But he does seem like fairly likable. But he was at the awards and she made a joke at his expense. And I do appreciate, he always goes along with it. Like he and George Clooney both, they like play along with this stuff really well. They're good sports. And she made a joke about all the things he's accomplished before his girlfriend turns 30. And that was hilarious and true. But also she brought up, I'm sorry for such a low blow or such an obvious joke, but she was like, we really don't know much about you. And I thought about that for days, literal days. I thought, we don't know anything about him. Like, I cannot tell you facts about Leonardo DiCaprio except for his like acting history.
Yeah, and he's not really on social media. Every
No?
once in a while, he would tweet like "Save the oceans" or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
conservation thing,
Sure.
uh, protect the planet. But other
Yep.
than that, yeah, we don't really know a lot about Leo. So
Yeah. So
I'd
wild.
also
But
love to know like what Leo and his girlfriend talk about. Like,
I know, me too. Like maybe he tells her like stuff that I tell like
it's like
toddlers
back when I was
now.
filming
You know,
Titanic and you weren't born yet.
you
I
weren't
was really.
born, but floppy disks and the internet started up and we thought the world was going to
Which one
end
of
in
my '97
1999.
cars should we drive today?
Yeah, but I thought the joke was funny and he took it in stride. And truly, for a few days, I was like, I don't know anything about Leo. It was like I was having a crisis.
What do I know? Nothing. So, also BAFTA nominations came out. We'll talk about those more once they have the BAFTAs, which will be in February. So after the BAFTAs are over, we'll talk about who won and if that has any relevance on the Oscars. Nominations are just kind of nominations. They nominate more British stuff because they're the BAFTAs. So movies that were made in England or with British cast or something usually get more nominations than like the Oscars. But other than that, it's pretty similar. So, now before we get into the Oscar nominations, we just wanted to talk about some things, for the year for 2025 and overall observations. I think overall, 2025 was a pretty good year for movies. I think the last couple of years have been pretty good for movies. After we got out of COVID and studios kind of got back on track and we started releasing more stuff. But, in 2024, we had the actors' strike and we had the writers' strike. So that delayed some stuff and it came out, this year, stuff that was supposed to come out last year. And I think the overall quality of movies was now there's some stinkers for sure, but I think for the
Mm.
most part it was pretty good.
Agreed. I don't remember really when we go from one year to the next. I can't remember what even happened the previous year. And obviously, both of our lives, you and I, Jared, have changed a lot in the last 5 years. But I don't remember the last year where I was like, wow, there are like nearly every movie I watched was good or had like there seemed like they were kind of about different topics, but one of the other things, another general observation that I made about movies this year, I was proud. I didn't like read an article about this. This was just something like I came to myself. But I noticed that a ton of movies this year revolved around grief of some sort, which to me, how we definitely there does always seem to be a commonality, a theme throughout the best picture nominees and stuff like that, or what was popular throughout the year. I don't know if you feel that way, but I think that comes up in our conversation. But I like previous conversations about Oscar noms, but I think like it felt like every other movie I was watching either had a child that died, or somebody overcoming grief from like a close relative, not like a friend I barely knew kind of a thing. It was like somebody their age or their parent or a child. And that did get tiring. I'm kind of over it. But at the same time, I wonder if the theme like could be that we as a nation are experiencing grief of
Hmm.
some sort. It could be that there's so much technology and with AI and everything that we're like kind of losing these analog things. It could be that with technology we're losing this ability to communicate. It could be how divided we are as a nation politically and we're kind of grieving that. But I thought that was interesting that that seemed to be the overall theme. So if anybody has thoughts on that, I would love to hear them. And I found a lot of the material and how they addressed it in movies and TV shows was really profound this year.
I think you're right. I think grief was a big theme, and like looking through my top 10, there's definitely some movies in there that deal with some grief. But I think family was also another big theme this year in a lot of movies. I look at my top 10, which we're going to go over here in a little bit, and a lot of the movies in my top 10 or in my honorable mentions have something to do with a family aspect. Either the movie is about a family, either the main character is a part of a family, and that's a part of the movie. Um, Things like that. So I don't know if you noticed that too, but it felt like there were and that's always a big theme, kind of every year. But it seemed like there were a lot of family movies.
Oh, yes, I completely agree. There was a lot more that you could watch with people or more people in your family. Sure, there's a couple things um, that I probably feel more comfortable watching by myself. But I think you're right too, that family, that's interesting because even the conversation of grief, you think a lot of times everybody experiences grief at some point in their life, but a lot of times it has to do with family, losing a family
Hmm.
member. Obviously, it could be friends and other things, neighbors, but a lot of times it is revolving around family. So I agree with you.
So there's a lot of categories this year that are going to have some really tough competition and don't really have clear runaway, leaders at this point. Those categories that we think will probably be pretty contentious will be Best International Feature Film, Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor and Actress, which those two are always usually pretty heavily contested, and then Best Animated Feature. All of those are going to be really big. I don't know yet. I mean, I think I know what might win Best Picture, but it's something could definitely come in there and change at the in the final couple of months. And sometimes we see that, one battle after another has kind of been the leader for the last couple of months. But there's been a lot of conversation about Sinners possibly getting Best Picture. There's been a
Mm-hmm.
lot of conversation about, Train Dreams getting a Best Picture nomination. That was kind of a little bit surprised. That kind of, that film is pretty small, but in the last couple of months has gained, more popularity and things. So I think that category will be definitely very interesting to see kind of what wins there. And then the acting categories are just always really, really tough, I feel like.
Yeah, I think they are too. So I with the acting, I feel pretty good about Best Actress. Like that's the only one that I'm like, oh, I feel like pretty set on that. I will say, as far as Best Picture, I was wondering. I definitely think Sinners has a chance,
Hmm.
like a strong chance. But I wondered about Hamnet too because I think a lot of people really were moved by that film. But I feel strongly about certain ones not getting it. Like some of them, I'm like, I don't even know why you're in the category because you're not going to win.
Like I'm glad, I'm happy that F1 got a Best Picture nomination. I do not think F1 is going to win Best Picture at the
Not a
Oscars.
shot. No. And like Train Dreams I really liked, but
Hmm.
I don't think Train Dreams that the bulk of the academy is going to say it was better than One Battle After Another or Sinners or something like that.
And I haven't seen yet all of these movies in the Best Picture category, and we'll talk about that
Mhm.
more later. But I think looking at the list, I would be okay with just about any of them winning. Whereas last
Yeah.
year, it felt like there were certain movies like that we just didn't like The Substance, that we didn't really like at all, that we were kind of adamantly against. If that wins Best Picture, I'm going to be kind of upset if that wins Best Picture.
I
And
forgot
even,
about it. Every time you mention it, I'm like, I forgot about that one and then I get angry.
And even Anora from last year, which did win Best Picture,
Mhm.
is a great movie. It was one of my favorite movies, once I saw it. Think I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd. But that's even like sort of a controversial topic of a movie. It's
Yeah.
not like it's not an easy watch to watch Anora. So I think some of these movies in the Best Picture list this year are a little bit easier watches, a little bit more if you're like a casual movie fan, a little bit easier to get into. If you're the type of person that
Mhm.
wants to watch the Best Picture nominees, I feel like this year you've got a nice variety of movies about different topics, and they're all I don't want to say relatable, but pretty easy to like understand and not super off putting.
Yes. Yeah. I think looking at this list, there's really something for everybody. And I agree with you. You can enjoy Sinners without understanding these diverse or like these really complex cultural and racial sentiments underneath it. But you could still really like it or be like, oh, I like vampires, so I'm going to like this. Or you can be like, oh, I like a kidnapping movie that might have to do with aliens. Well, Begonia is for you. you know, or
Or
I just like,
I read
yeah.
Frankenstein in high school, so I'm gonna watch.
Oh,
I know the
absolutely.
story or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I like the list. I would be irate, I'll tell you that, if Begonia or F1 won. But I don't think they will.
I don't think so either.
But
So
that would send me to the moon. But that's okay.
um, so some other things to talk about here is there's a new category, best casting, so that'll be new for this year. And the Academy made it harder for members to nominate and vote in categories in which they have not watched all of the nominees. So, according to the Hollywood Reporter, what they had to do is go to the members only Academy screening room app and track their viewing. And if they watched a movie somewhere else, like they went to a screening of it or they saw it at a film festival or something, they had to fill out a form and mention when and where they watched that movie. So trying to cut down on the fact that there was the article that came out last year or the year before about people voting but not watching all the movies in the category. Well, now you can't do that. You got to watch all the movies in the category now if you want to vote on that category, which makes that's how it should have been from the start. And I feel
Yeah.
like that probably was how it was before we moved into this age of technology. Like when you actually had to go to like movie theaters or get DVDs or probably even VHSs back in the day of like
Hmm.
the nominated movies. I feel like you probably would make an effort to like watch all of those, but with them being available digitally, sometimes it's easier to just say, "Oh yeah, I watched it," and you didn't watch it, or you watched 10 minutes of it, or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it when I saw this, I was like, good, but also it's absurd that people could be involved in the Academy and not have to see the things that are nominated. I'm like, how is that fair? You already have such a privileged existence and make a gazillion dollars, and you didn't even do the work to like see the films. But this is a perfect segue because speaking of like tracking and stuff, I found a really cool website that I am tracking. If you are like me, I really enjoy a checklist. It makes me feel accomplished, but also I wanted a really clear way to look at the Oscar nominations and keep track of what I've seen and haven't seen because I do try to make a concerted effort, even though I'm not on the Academy, to see things like documentaries and shorts and stuff like that. So if you go to oscarschecklist.com, spelled just like it sounds, you can now, I created a profile, which took me all of 10 seconds. But what's really cool is, so like, let's say we're talking about the category of Sinners. It's nominated for 16 Oscars. You don't have to memorize what all 16 categories it's in. Once you say you've seen it or you want to watch it or whatever, when I clicked on I'd seen it, it goes to all 16 of those categories and marks them off for you and checks it. So you know, oh, I've seen it. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And you can also put things like if it's your favorite, you can put a prediction on there as well, which is cool. But it's a really nice, very clear, easy way to see what's nominated and if you've watched it or it needs to be put on a watch list, which I think is really cool. And then another thing I've been utilizing, Jared and I talk about Letterboxd a lot, but I've gotten more adept, I guess, at navigating it this year. But I've been using Letterbox to figure out where to watch things. So on Letterbox, it'll show you it's really small. The icons are small, but it'll say like you can watch this at HBO Max or you can watch this on Amazon Prime. And it has that listed there, which is also really helpful if you need a quick reference to say, oh, I want to go watch this documentary, etc.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really cool site. I think I'm definitely going to check that out. There is a list on Letterboxd as well that I like, and it works well for me too. It's just called Oscars 2026. So if you just search that on Letterboxd for the list, and they have kind of the same thing, like all the nominated movies in a list basically. And so when you watch one on your Letterboxd, obviously it will mark it as you've watched it, and so you can kind of keep track that way as well. So the Oscars checklist thing is better if you want to make sure you watch all the movies in a certain category, because this list on Letterboxd just has all the movies that are nominated listed. So I would still use that Oscars checklist thing if you want to make sure you watch all the Best Picture movies or all the international feature film movies or something like that. So, but if you have Letterboxd, you can look up the Oscars 2026 list and see on there too. So
I
a
didn't
couple of
even know
places to
that.
look.
Now I'm going to have to do that now too. Okay, cool.
So, some other news for the Oscars. Sinners set a record with the most nominations ever. It got 16 nominations. Now, there is a new category this year. So, the casting category, it was nominated in that category. And so that helped push it over the top to get those 16 nominations. But still, very impressive achievement for Sinners with 16 nominations. And One Battle After Another has 13 nominations. So, those are the two most nominated movies at the Oscars.
Pretty incredible. And there's a ton of people that are nominated for the first time, which I thought was really cool. We have Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo. A lot of people are excited about that one. And One Mi Mosaka for Sinners, both well deserved. Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another, and then the four main cast members for Sentimental Value all got nominated. I'm going to do my best to say their names, but I'm going to embarrass myself. So, Elle Fanning, of course, Stellan Skarsgård. Is it Renata or Renate?
I am not
Rens.
sure. Yeah.
I hear her name, but people don't say it the same. And I don't know her last name. Rensev? I don't know.
Rinsev. I am.
And then Inga Ibsdottir Lilies. They're all in Sentimental Value. They're all fantastic. I will look up their names. I just forgot to hear the pronunciations. Rose Byrne, who's in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and Wagner Mora for The Secret Agent. And then also, it's not great, but I'm excited to see it. There's one female nominee for Best Director, which is, of course, Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, which is awesome. Obviously, if we ever had a time where two women, dare I say three women, were nominated for Best Director, that'd be amazing. Because we do know there are great women directors out there making movies. They're just not getting selected.
Mm-hmm. Some other acting notes. Emma Stone is the youngest woman in Oscars history to have 7 nominations. She was nominated for Begonia this year. Really impressive achievement. When you look at like young actors and actresses, I think Emma Stone is probably at the top of the list in terms of wins and nominations. So, and I will give Emma Stone credit too. She has
Same.
done so many different types of movies that have gotten
Yep.
these nominations. You know, she's nominated for Begonia, which is like a sci-fi thriller, but she's been nominated for La La Land, and she's been nominated for, you know, some of these other movies that are totally different genres. So
Hmm.
I have to give her credit there.
Yeah. Yorgos movies are not my brand. But clearly, something works really well with her and Yorgos Lanthimos,
Hmm.
and I agree with you. Like, she really is pretty exceptional, and good for her. I'm very happy for her. I just sometimes when I hear another movie is coming out that's Emma Stone and a Yorgos film, I just kind of go, "Oh my god, another one."
Some other acting notes. Timothy Chalamet is the youngest male actor to score 3 Oscar noms since Marlon Brando. So that is some impressive company there. And then the other thing is Center's Autumn Durald Arkapaw is the first woman of color to be nominated for Best Cinematography.
I thought that was pretty cool. Good for her.
Hmm. That is definitely a very cool achievement. Now we have to talk about some snubs as well. Some people that got left out of the Oscar nominations. The big one, Chase Infinity, not nominated for One Battle After Another. Thought maybe she was going to get in there. Great performance by her in that movie. They nominated Tiana Taylor instead for that performance, so that's understandable. But Chase Infinity held out of the Oscar nominations for acting.
I slightly disagree. I am kind of surprised Tiana's getting the
I am
rec-
too. I th-
recognition she's
I
getting.
think the fact that she's not in that movie for a super long time is interesting.
No.
When Chase Infinity is in the movie a lot more, and I feel like you still could run her. I don't know if they ran her in Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress. I'm not sure, but I'd feel like
Yeah.
you'd probably run her in Best Supporting because you could consider Leo obviously Best Actor. So,
Because I
but that
almost
movie
think you
does have a
could.
stacked cast.
It does. I almost think you could put Tiana Taylor in supporting, not
Okay.
best actor. Like that was just an idea. But
Hmm.
Chase Infinity, I don't know if there's a rule either. Actually, I've never looked that up. If there's a rule like two people can't be nominated in the same category for the same, but I think they can. I think it's harder, and they don't like to compete like that, like put people against one another.
Yeah, I mean they
But
did it for Best Supporting Actor this year, so for the same movie.
oh,
So
okay, yeah, good point. Thank you.
definitely can
So
happen.
obviously it's
Yeah, yep.
allowed, but I just think I was more impressed with Chase personally, and I agree with you. Tiana wasn't on screen very long, but there's people like Anthony Hopkins. He was famously 16 minutes of Silence of the Lambs, and he won an Oscar for that. But I don't know. I liked Chase Infinity and I rooted for her. And I am not at all saying Tiana did not do a good job and that she shouldn't be recognized, but I am pretty shocked at the amount of recognition and the things that she's won so far. When I personally wouldn't have put her in those categories.
We've got a few movies that got no nominations. One zero nominations for Wicked for Good. Kind of surprising. People thought, and I thought, that it was at least going to get costumes, makeup and hairstyling, maybe a song in there, because they did write some new songs for the movie that were not in the Broadway production. But nothing. No nominations at all for Wicked for Good. So
I
Wicked
was
for Bad at the Oscar nominations.
I was pretty shocked by this. The one I really thought should get nominated was Ariana Grande. And when I saw that movie, I even thought like, man, I wouldn't be upset if she won. I think I said that on the podcast. Like I wouldn't be upset if she had won Best Supporting Actress for Wicked for Good. I'm hoping that this teaches people a lesson though that we don't necessarily need to drag out a movie and make it two parts and all that. I understand it's a money-making machine. It was a really good family film. There's a lot of good reasons for John Chu to do what he did. And
Mm-hmm.
I obviously am not in the movie making business, but I don't know. There was a stark contrast to me between the first and the second movies. The first was far superior to me, but I was surprised it didn't get any nominations at all. Now, I am
Yeah.
happy about Avatar Fire and Ash. Some
Avatar
people
Fire and
like,
Ash
do
just
what?
not nominated for Best Picture. Did get a few
No.
nominations, so we have to shout it out for its few. I think it got 2 nominations, I
I just
believe.
hope James
But
Cameron doesn't make the other ones. Like just give up the ghost cert. Nobody wants this. We don't want it. Please stop.
and it did I did check. It did get 2 Oscar nominations, Best Visual
Mhm.
Effects and Best Costume Design.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but no Best Picture nomination. Some other snubs. One other big one. Paul Mescal for Hamnet did not get in. Delroy Lindo kind of beat him out for that spot in that category. Uh, I think both performances were very good. Both are different types of performances. I was happy to see Delroy get in there. I thought that was very cool for Sinners for him to get nominated, but somebody had to be left out, and unfortunately, it was Paul. So
I think Paul has a pretty big career ahead of him too, and already has. So I don't feel like he was super slighted. I was also shocked too, but I think Delroy did a fantastic job, and I was happy they recognized him.
And then some odd picks. Kate Hudson in there for Song Sung Blue. I did see that movie. I'm gonna talk about it here in a couple of minutes. And I thought she was good in the movie, but I didn't when I saw the movie. I didn't think Oscar performance for this movie. I just thought it was a good performance. It's the only nomination the movie got, so it's kind of surprising that she did sneak in there for that nomination. And then F1 getting nominated for Best Picture. F1 just kind of came out of nowhere. We saw it during the summer. I thought it was okay. Wasn't my favorite movie of the year. Wasn't my least favorite movie of the year. Kind of right in the middle. Race car sequences were cool. Brad Pitt was pretty good in the movie. But for it to get nominated for Best Picture, that was kind of surprising that they decided on that one as opposed to some other movies that did not get nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked by F1 getting nominated. I didn't see Sung Blue. I know that you liked that movie, Jared. I think that's one that I am not going to prioritize watching. I just don't care. I read the synopsis and I was like, this is not for me. So good for her if she's getting recognized, but I'm pretty shocked by that. I I don't know. I don't have strong feelings about it, but I'm kind of like, oh, okay, well, that was a weird
Yeah, a lot of
nomination.
people thought maybe Blue Moon might sneak in there for Best Picture
Yeah,
nomination. There was talk of Weapons maybe getting in for a Best Picture nomination. Like you said, Song Sung Blue was another one that was discussed as well. So F1 though gets the nod, and so that's nominated for Best Picture. So there you go. There's all our thoughts on the Oscars. They're coming up Sunday, March 15th on ABC and streaming on Hulu, hosted once again by my guy, Conan O'Brien, back for year number 2. His life's a little less tragic this year, so
oh,
that's
for real.
good. He didn't have both his
Yeah,
parents die right before the Oscars this year, so
it was so sad.
he'll probably be a little more locked in. I thought he did a good job last year, but I think he's with even more time to prepare and not having all of those outside factors affecting him as much. I think he might even do a better job this year. So
Yep, I think he'll do a good job. Looking forward to it.
yeah. Okay, so now on to our top 10 movies of 2025. Now, we should say these are our favorite movies of 2025. They're not necessarily the best movies that came out in 2025. Sometimes they correlate, but these are our personal favorite movies of 2025. And the reason we also delay this list usually to the end of January is so that we can see everything or a lot of stuff that came out, by the end of 2025. Some of those Christmas releases and stuff, we wait until the new year to be able to see those. So we've seen a lot of stuff. We haven't seen everything, though. We will say neither of us have seen The Secret Agent because it's
Right.
not available to stream yet or in theaters around here. I have also not seen Sentimental Value, and I have not seen If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. So those are a couple of movies. I've also not seen It Was Just an Accident. So those are a couple that are getting awardsy buzz, been in some other top 10 lists that I just have not had a chance to see yet. So
And I busted my buns to catch up and try to see as many movies as possible so that Jared and I could have this chat. The only one I haven't seen that's like a major nomination this year is The Secret Agent, which I'm excited to see. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. But yeah, this is a problem we talk about each year where a lot of things are not made widely available. Or I didn't add up how much I spent, but I definitely spent at least $50 just trying to watch movies on streaming. Now, I will say some of them in the last few weeks, since the Oscar nominations came out, so the last week, did go down in price by $5. So instead of 20, it was 15. But I one of the reasons I didn't watch The Smashing Machine, for example, was it was $20, and I was like, I don't even care about this movie in the first place. I'm not going to pay $20 to watch it. But a
mhm.
lot of them are available on streaming, which is good. But you also already have to have a subscription. That's a cost, and you have to pay for these films. So like even if you have a Prime subscription, you still had to pay to rent these films. So that's not an audience problem. That's just definitely like an issue that is still going around, and especially in this economy, not to be funny. Like that's a really hard expense for
I
people.
I think your idea that you had last year was great. And I don't know why. I don't know if they'll ever do it or why they haven't done it. But I think your suggestion was create a streaming thing for all the Oscar nominated movies and
Jared,
charge
thank
like
you.
I think you said like $75 or something like that, and you can watch all of them, or maybe $50, and you can watch all the movies that are nominated for the Oscars in one place. I feel like that would be a great idea if all the movie companies just kind of came together and were fine with that, and then you just take the money that you get from the subscription and dish it out to the various movie companies and the Academy or whatever. But then that gives you an easy place to watch. That's what the Academy members get. They get that
Yeah,
the screening room. So
little
why can't you just make
screeners.
that available to the public for a cost after the nominations come out? I don't
Jared,
understand.
thank you so much. Sincerely, I forgot that I had that idea. I'm glad we have it on recording though. But I also think I don't think they're ever going to be that. What's the word I'm looking for? Why can't I
They're
think
going to
of
be
the
that like that much synergy, or they're not going to come together
No,
in
like
that type of
they're not going to
way.
be
Yeah.
generous like that, but I do think it's a good idea. And also for people who claim like, "Oh my gosh, these documentaries are so important and all these topics are really important for people to see." You would think they would make it more accessible to people, but no.
I will say I did see, and this is a good way to see these movies if you have not seen any of them yet. Is AMC is doing their Best Picture showcase again, so it'll be on March 7th and March 14th. They're going to show 5 movies on March 7th, 5 movies on March 14th, all the Best Picture nominated movies. So if you have not seen any of the Best Picture nominated movies, or maybe you've seen like one and you need to see the rest, I know a couple of people that just go to that Best Picture showcase and literally you start at like noon and you're going to like midnight watching movies. But if that sounds like something you want to do, check that out if you have an AMC near you, because it might be a good way for
Yeah.
a semi more affordable price to be able to see all of these movies.
And
So
I think Cinemark is trying to do something like that here, but also check your like local independent theaters because the one that we have here locally, they always do a thing like that where they show or they'll say we're going to show a couple for the weeks leading up to the Oscars, which is really nice. And the small independent theater I go to here, I always go to at Oscar time. That's how I get to see all the shorts and stuff like that. I usually can't make it to all of them because of cost and time, but they always have like a week where they're like, we're going to show all the documentary feature films, but you have to go sit through all of them. Or they'll say, we're going to
mhm.
show all the documented shorts. So you're giving about 2 hours of your time, but you go and you pay one price and you see them all. So I always go to one of them. for the year, but that's still really helpful because think of all those. I've seen a lot of great shorts that way, especially, and I wouldn't have seen them otherwise because a lot of them never come to streaming, or if they do, they come really late. So that's a great idea, Jared.
Yeah, that is a great way to do that, and I know some other theaters do that type of thing too, where they have like the shorts that they all show and things like that. So that's a really great way to try to see them all in one setting and for one price, like you said. So okay, let's go ahead and get into our top 10 movies of 2025. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? How do you want to alternate?
Oh, I kind of think you went first last year. I don't remember. Well, here's what I'm
Okay,
wondering, just for time. I wonder if we should do our honorable mentions all together first.
okay, let's do that, and then
Okay?
you can go first with your top 10, and then I'll
Yes.
go after you. So okay.
Okay. So Jared and I every year basically we always have honorable mentions. I think that that's fair to put in there too because there are some that just barely I was like, "Oh, I just probably shouldn't put these in the top 10," but they're definitely worth talking about. My 3, and we each picked 3 without even talking to each other about it, and I think the last few years that's what we've done. It seems like 13 is really the magical number. My 3 are Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery, which I really enjoyed. It was just an accident, which Jared, that's one of the ones he hasn't seen. I
hmm
just watched it a lot. I think it sparks a lot of good conversation and is thought provoking, but not enough to make my top 10. And Blue Moon with Ethan Hawke and Andrew Scott. I super enjoyed that movie, but there were a lot of movies I enjoyed this year. And so it just got bumped off the list.
So my three honorable mentions were Zootopia 2. I thought that was a really good animated movie, and I thought it had some really good messages in it, and the story was really good. It's like they didn't dumb it down just because it was a kids movie. So animation was great too. I really enjoyed that as an animated movie. I had Black Bag in my honorable mentions. Spy thriller type movie from Steven Soderbergh with Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett in that one. That was very good. Just did not quite make my top 10. Great script on that movie though, and like a people talking in rooms type movie, but it's really well done and the acting's really good too. And then Song Sung Blue just missed my top 10 as well. That was probably my biggest surprise of the year. I saw that movie and I didn't think I was going to love it, and it was actually a really good based on a true story type of movie. I thought Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson were really good. I thought the directorial choices and the script and everything was really interesting, and it had some it wasn't like a just super happy and cheery all the time. There was some definite bad things that happened in these people's lives, and they didn't really shy away from that. So I thought that was good. And if you don't know, Song Sung Blue is about a Neil Diamond tribute band. So not about Neil Diamond, but about a Neil Diamond tribute band. Which
Right.
again, you hear that, you
That's where
see the
they
trailer,
lost me.
you're like, what is going on? And I will say, very popular with older people as well. When I went and saw it, my theater, bunch of older people, they all kind of loved it though. They were like gasping and laughing and everything. So I think if you want like a good movie to just kind of watch with the whole family, or one that you just want to kind of pop on and not have to think about a ton, but is a little deeper than maybe your average like movie of this type, I think Song Sung Blue was pretty good. And the musical performances are very good too. I mean, Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson can both sing. So I liked that.
I
So
I heard really good things about Zootopia too, like as
mhm.
well as like what you were saying. So I'm intrigued to see that. And if I can keep up, if I do watch the animated films, it's nominated. So I'll see if I can get to that. Black Bag I also really liked. And then another movie when we were just talking about the surprise of the year, I was actually really surprised because didn't Thunderbolts come out at the beginning of last year? Wasn't it in March or something?
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah.
Because
Yep.
that one is not in my top 10, but it was one that I remember seeing and thinking, like, this might be one of my favorite Marvel movies in the franchise. But because there were, again, so many good movies in 2025, it was just a blip. Like, I didn't even really think of it when I was making my list because so many other movies ranked really high with me. So, anyway, but that's a great honorable mention so far. And we didn't have any repeats. Wow.
We did not. So okay, now we're moving
Interesting.
into the top 10 official. What's your number
Okay.
10?
My number 10 is Superman with David
Okay.
Cornsweet. Really enjoyed it. It's the only superhero movie on my list. It surprised me. I reread my review. I just remember being like really moved by a lot of it. Again, grief kind of plays a role in it. Um, Parents play a role in it, whether they're adopted, foster parents, your biological parents. I thought that was such a beautiful part of the story. I liked that all the actors were relatively like they're not overly famous people. I thought that was super cool. Rachel Brosnahan, I liked her portrayal of Lois Lane. I loved all the side characters. It seemed like a really wholesome, sweet movie that had good momentum, good pacing. I really enjoyed it. Superman is my number 10.
Nice. My number 10 is one that I think is going to be higher on your list, and that is Hamnet. So, Chloe Zhao, Hamnet coming in at number 10. Katie's a little shocked that it's maybe that low. Paul Mescal and Jesse Buckley telling the story of, Hamlet, basically, and how Shakespeare came to write that, and the real life story of his son tragically passing away. And so it was very good. I just don't think it moved me quite as much as it moved other people. Part of that may be just due to the fact that I'm not a parent. I'm also not a woman, and this is a very kind of woman focused centric movie made by a woman director, starring a woman in the lead role that is going to win the Oscar for Best Actress. So
Correct.
definitely coming from a
100%.
big female perspective there, but I did really appreciate the movie as a whole. I thought it was really well paced. I thought the performances were outstanding. Costume and the production design was very, very cool. And it's definitely a very sad movie, but one that I felt like was pretty good. So that's number
Love
10.
that. I mean, I'm shocked, but you know what? I think you bring up good points though too. I think so much of movie watching is the mood that you're in. It's the place you're in life. It's who you go to see it with. It's the experience of the film. Like, who was in the audience? Did they ruin it for you? Because there were even some of these, like I rewatched Sinners. I had a completely different vibe watching Sinners as a rewatch than I did the first time, and I appreciate it 10 times more than the first time I saw it. So I get it. I totally get it. My number 9 is Merrily We Roll Along. So
Okay.
not a huge like feature release thing. Might be surprising to some. It wouldn't be surprising to people that know me, but surprising to show up on the list because I think a lot of people don't even know what I'm talking about. But Merrily We Roll Along was famously done on Broadway originally by Stephen Sondheim, and it didn't do well at all. It was terrible. It was a flop. And then they remade it, and it was Jonathan Groff, Daniel Radcliffe, and Lindsay Mendez are the main three characters, and they are astounding. But I swear to you, it was like everyone I knew in my life got to go to Broadway to see it, except for me. And I tried multiple times. I tried. And I never got to go, had too much going on in my life. But then they announced they were going to bring it to theaters, and they had filmed one of the final Broadway performances. And what sucked too is they kept extending the run of the show. So I kept going like, "Oh my gosh, this is my sign. I have to go. I have to go to Broadway." And I'm not someone who feels the need to go to Broadway a lot. And this show I wanted. And so I never got to see it. So it was partly I wanted on the list because it was such a gift that they did that, because there are plenty of people like me who could not either make the time or afford to go to Broadway and see it. And to see such people that I really admire, and half of they've either all won Tonys or won Tonys for this show. And it was beautifully done. It's a really moving story about friendship and how we treat people, and if we're not good to people, how they leave our lives. Fascinating idea, great storytelling. The standout for me is Daniel Radcliffe, but they were all phenomenal.
Nice. So my number 9 is one that you had in your honorable mentions, and that's Blue Moon, directed by Richard Linklater, starring Ethan Hawke. It is about Lorenz Hart. So before it was Rodgers and Hammerstein, it was Rodgers and Hart, and this movie is set on the opening of Oklahoma, the night that opens. So Broadway adjacent movie for sure. And it just kind of goes through Lorenz Hart's, struggles with the fact that he's kind of out of the spotlight now. He definitely has an alcoholism problem. He's had his heart broken many, many times. All of that stuff comes into play in this movie. Andrew Scott, as you mentioned, is Hammerstein in the movie, or sorry, Rogers in the movie. And then Margaret Qualley is also in the movie as well. And Bobby Cannavale plays the
Oh,
bartender, and he's
yes,
really good as
he
well.
is.
But it's basically just those four kind of for the whole movie, and it takes
Hmm.
place basically in a bar. The entire movie is set there.
Yep.
It's not very long. It's like 90 minutes though, but the script is really good. Richard Linklater does a great job directing. Ethan Hawke, his performance is great in this movie and really interesting too. I don't know how much of it is true versus how much was made up for the movie, but I think a decent amount of it probably was true. And it just kind of gives you that feeling of like, especially with something that happens, I feel like when you get later in life where you see like people that you maybe went to high school with or you went to college with, and they're like doing maybe more impressive things than you're doing. And not really a sense of jealousy, but just like, what if things had gone a little bit differently in my life at certain times,
Hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of what this movie is, one thing that it's trying to say. Uh, and I just really enjoyed it. I was the only person in the theater when I saw this movie too. Had a private screening of Blue Moon.
What?
So
I
I don't know if
really
that
liked
affected
it.
it or not. You talked about the theater, the whole theater
Yeah,
experience, but there was nobody else in there to distract me. So maybe that was
yeah.
one reason why it made my top 10.
Well, and it just got bumped off my list because mainly because there's not a lot of action. I felt like it was a beautiful movie with stuff to say, but not a lot happens. And I feel like the other movies that I put on this list, there was more like just character development, more things going on. Ethan Hawke 1,000,000% deserves that Oscar nomination. And I loved seeing Andrew Scott. Everybody knows I put 18 crush alerts on for Andrew Scott. He was so good playing a role where he's dislikable, basically. But he's also, I think it's funny because he's been Moriarty in Sherlock. He's played a villain before. He's really good at
Hmm.
it. But I think because he's known for being Hot Priest and some of these other more recent things, he's kind of not known for being a villain. And he was really good at being just kind of a smarmy cad dude. But Ethan Hawke was fantastic, and Bobby Cannavale is great too. And I loved, I will tell you, I looked up Sardi's, I knew was a real restaurant, and I wanted to see if it was still open. It is in New York. So, where the
Okay.
movie takes place, I loved it, of course, because that's like a play. It was all in one location, but they actually filmed it in Dublin. So, that is
Oh, okay.
not the actual Sardi's, but still cool. My number eight might be a little surprising. I actually have two documentaries in my top 10, and I don't know that Jared does, but I was surprised. We were talking earlier. Jared usually has documentaries, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to catch up to him this year. But there were I watched several fantastic documentaries this year. My number eight is My Mom Jane by Mariska Hargitay. Well, I don't, yeah, yes, she did it. Can you fact check that, Jared? I don't want to say that. She did direct it.
Yeah, she did direct it. Yep.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm working through an illness now. Of course, this is about Jane Mansfield and me being such a lover of old school Hollywood. I already knew about Jane Mansfield. I knew about her death, but I knew a lot of the false stuff that they put out about her death. Um, but really, it's not. The whole thing was not about her death. It was about Mariska like figuring out in her life really where she belongs. And it's so tragic because she's telling this whole story. Her mom died when she was 3, and she was in the car when her mom died. And she doesn't remember, which is great. I'm so glad she doesn't. But she revealed she remembered certain things about that day, but she doesn't remember like seeing her mom's body or anything like that, which is a miracle. Um, but the whole thing, she talks about identity and parents. Again, parents popped up and family, where who is my family, and trying to figure out who that mother role would be in her life. And then also finding out there's a big reveal in it, which if you haven't heard it by this point, there's a big reveal in the documentary too that talks more about her family. And she just has such a beautiful way of kind of working through that. There's so much vulnerability, and you get to meet her whole family. And I just love that they didn't focus on Jane's death, and they didn't focus on Jane was just gorgeous. They talked about a lot of what made her her, and then the legacy she left behind, and how the kids all moved on. Beautifully done. It was so so good. My Mom Jane, and you can still watch it now on HBO Max.
Nice. Yeah, I did not put documentaries on my list. If I had to pick a couple, though, I think my favorites were The Perfect Neighbor and also The Alabama Problem, which are not easy watches, but were both very important documentaries. I also just watched Secret Mall Apartment last night on Netflix. That would also be probably a contender for one of my favorite documentaries. It came out in 2025, but now it's on Netflix. But that would be one of my contenders for favorite doc of 2025 too. This is really, really interesting. We're up to number 8, correct? I think so. Yeah, I think we're on
Yes,
number 8.
yes.
So, my number 8 is Superman. So you already had it in your top 10, but that's my number 8. Basically, all the things that you said. Really kind of just a heartwarming, feel good superhero movie. Very well paced. Action was great. David Cornsweet was great as Superman. Rachel Brosnahan was really good. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, I thought did a great job as the villain. Really, actually, like kind of a scary villain, which sometimes is not the case for these superhero movies. Sometimes the villain, you're just like, don't really feel that intimidating. Lex Luthor felt intimidating in this movie. Superman had lots of personal internal struggles he was dealing with. Felt that made him more of kind of a down to earth character than maybe some other superheroes. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited for Supergirl, which comes out this year, and I think that'll be a fun watch as well, and kind of like a continuation of the Superman story. So
Excellent. Great points. And I'm highlighting on our notes, Jared, the ones that we both have on our list. So that's our first one,
okay,
actually, even the out of honorable mentions and stuff. My number 7, nobody get mad at me. I have reasons for all of this. My number 7 is Sinners. The reason being, I thought it was excellent. I could talk about it all day. I wish we could even, I talked about it highly on the podcast, but I wish we could even re record the podcast because I have so much more to say. But the other movies I have above it just impacted me differently. Also, I'm not a person of color. Also, I don't like vampires. Like, I'm just not into that. So, a lot of this has to do more with the genre to me than it does what the message is trying to say. I think it 1,000,000% deserves to be nominated for 16 Oscars, and I would be thrilled if it won Best Picture. But it's my number 7. I thought it was amazing, totally rewatchable, fantastic, like sentiments, very complex ideas behind it. You could peel back the layers forever. Loved it, but it is my number 7, Sinners.
nice. My number 7 is Sorry Baby by Ava Victor. She directed this movie. Ava plays Agnes in this film, and this is their directorial debut. And something really bad happens to Agnes, but an old friend of hers, comes to visit and has a really important thing that's happening in her life. And so it's really just kind of like a slice of life movie. I thought it was really well written, really interesting to just kind of watch. This is again another one that I didn't really know a lot about before watching it, but I just saw it. I think it's on HBO Max. Yes, just saw it on HBO Max. Knew that it was kind of getting talked about, decided to check it out, and really, really enjoyed it. It's funny. It's sad at times. It has a lot of stuff going on, but it has some great scenes in the movie as well. And I just really connected with it. So
That's awesome. It was good. It didn't make my top 10, but I did watch it as well, and there's a lot of good to be said about it. I was impressed with it being a directorial debut, for sure. My number 6 is my other documentary. By far my favorite one I saw this year, Billy Joel and So It Goes. You can still watch this on HBO Max. It was so good, but you have got to be dedicated and a Billy Joel fan. It is 5 hours long. They made 2 episodes. They're each 2.5 hours long. But Billy Joel is one of my favorite artists of all time, consistently through my whole life. I think he is such a fascinating person. And this made him more human than he's ever been to me. Jared and I saw him in concert. Again, dedicated fan, obsessed with Billy Joel. But he was so vulnerable, and you learn so much about, he's very open about his substance abuse issues, his trouble with marriages. He's not a good partner. But at the same time, you would also very much get the vibe from him how much he cares about family and stuff. Like these things that he might not necessarily be good at, like being a husband, he still really cares about a solid family unit. Like there's so many things that have like driven him and affected his music, and he is really has always been very conscious and aware of what music he's writing and what he wants his legacy to be. He is outspoken, kind of like Bruce Springsteen and some of these others. And that was the other thing that made such a huge impression on me, was all the people in this film that talked so highly about him. Everybody. It was Bruce Springsteen, Sting, Paul McCartney. It was an endless list of people that love Billy Joel, and that said a lot to me. So I'm still obsessed. I was obsessed before, but if you want to watch that, that was my number 6 for best film of the year, Billy Joel, and So It Goes.
Yeah, that was a great documentary. Very, very interesting. And like you said, Billy was very vulnerable. I liked the process, how they kind of went through all of his albums chronologically, and he talked about the reason for writing an album and why certain albums sounded different from others, and the process of picking singles off the album, and how some of his albums didn't really perform as well. And he was honest about that too, in terms of sales and not booking as big concert venues and things like that. So yeah, really great documentary there. But again, like you said, I totally agree with you. I think you have to be a big Billy Joel fan to to enjoy that one. So my number 6 on my list is Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie, starring Timothy Chalamet. This one just came out back in December. Sports drama, really, really interesting story in this film about a guy who wants to be kind of the best that he can be at his sport. And Timothy Chalamet plays Marty Mauser. And I just thought that this was really well paced. I was never bored at all with this movie. It had something going on kind of just every single minute. The script is really, really good. The editing is very fast paced as well. Timothy gives a great performance in this movie, might win the Oscar for his performance in this movie. I love a sports film. I thought that this one was pretty good, and I really enjoyed this one. This feels like more of a guy type movie. I don't know if you feel that way. I don't know if you have it in your top 10, or maybe it is coming up, but I just feel like I thought it was pretty enjoyable, and I thought it was interesting. Again, the moral dilemmas and the talking of family and everything. That's a big factor in this movie too. So
I could see the argument for it being more of a guy movie. I think it's more like people have to care about the time period and table tennis than anything else. I think that wouldn't appeal. So just like Song Sung Blue, I'm like, okay, I don't care about Neil Diamond or a tribute band, but that's but, but I think that those are excellent points, and I might have more to add on that, Jared.
okay,
My number 5 is Train Dreams. This is the one that is on Netflix right now. I strongly encourage you to watch it. I think this film won't be for everybody because it is a quiet film. It's an unassuming film. Um, you shouldn't get attached to the characters for sure. Another film that deals with grief, like hard grief. And I will say, when I watched this film, there is a death. I don't want to spoil, but I did say to Arjun, I was like, if I have to deal with one more movie where a child dies this year, I will lose my mind. Or TV show, because it's come up in countless TV shows. But I was sobbing. But the movie's so good. Joel Edgerton is so freaking good in that role, and Felicity Jones, she's good in everything. I feel like nobody's even talking about her. She has been good in everything I've ever seen her in. Um, but it's a beautiful film, and part of the reason it's higher on my list than some of the others is because it really does talk about America and a very significant change in the time, like at the beginning of the 1900s, and when we have trains, and also seeing the evolution of technology in general, whether you're talking about computers or trains or cars or whatever else, how technology will kind of alleviate some concerns, but will also cause new problems. And also made me appreciate all the work that other people did before us to start civilizations and create the world that we get to enjoy.
so my number 5. This is probably going to shock you a little bit. My number 5 is Begonia. So directed Katie's face she just made. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, starring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. This is a science fiction thriller. Look, I just really enjoyed this one. I thought it had a lot to say about conspiracy theories, and I thought that was kind of relevant to today's culture for sure. Basically, the plot of the movie is that Jesse Plemons kidnaps Emma Stone, who is the CEO of this big company that is kind of sort of like Amazon in a way. That's kind of the vibe that I got. And has all these big theories and conspiracies and everything. And they are convinced that she is an alien who wants to destroy the Earth. So they kidnap her. They have her in their house, And that's pretty much, a lot of the movie. So I thought, no, there's been a lot of comments about the ending of the movie. I was okay with the ending of the movie. Some people hated the ending of the movie. I think your opinion probably varies on if you were okay with that or not. But I thought Jesse Plemons was really, really good in his role in this movie, kind of becoming more deranged as the movie goes on, to a point of kind of craziness by the end of the movie. There are some really shocking scenes in this movie too that I felt like worked well and were not just for shock value, but actually did a job of like and were relevant to the story while still surprising you at the same time. And you kind of have that question up in the air throughout the whole course of the movie of, is she an alien or is she not? And so that does get answered. So if you're curious, you will find out by the end of the movie. But I just really liked it. Begonia. And I like the score. The score was, I thought, great too. So Begonia's at number 5.
I think that's fair, Jared, and someone should have put it on the list. So good for you. I did hate the ending. I don't know what was wrong with me. The year started, and I was taking down Christmas decorations, and I thought I'm gonna watch Begonia and Weapons back to back. And I don't know what happened to me. But both I had the same problem with both the movies. I actually was so into them, and the ending was what destroyed it. So the ending of Begonia and the ending of Weapons is where they lost me. Otherwise, even Weapons, I was like, oh my gosh, is Weapons going to end up on my top 10? Then the end happened, and I was like, okay, and no.
No.
So I think that there's merit to them, and I totally get what you liked. Begonia, to me, Jesse Plemons, the fact that men like that truly exist is what scared me the most of the whole film. He did such a good job. Emma did such a good job. They all did great. So thank you. My number 4 has already shown up on your list. It's Marty Supreme. I, of course, had to
Nice.
put this on my list. I didn't, I definitely dogged on parts of this movie when Jared and I covered it on the podcast recently, but I think overall it's definitely my kind of movie. I love good actors, and everybody in it is so good. I really like an engaging story. I like a movie that is well paced, it's exciting. It's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street on my fourth watch, because Wolf of Wall Street took me a long time to be like, that was incredible. Whereas this one, I was like expecting it to be chaotic and insane, and it was, but I thought the acting was great. I do love that time period. Any kind of movie set in that time period is going to be more appealing to me than probably the average moviegoer. But I thought it was fantastic. I think it deserves its Oscar nominations. I think Timothy has a really good shot. I'd be happy if he won. Um, so yeah, that's all I have to say. Marty Supreme is my number 4.
Nice. My number 4 is Sinners, which you already mentioned, directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. This movie I really enjoyed more the second time I watched it. Just like you said a little bit earlier in the episode, I picked up on so much more stuff on the rewatch than I did initially. I appreciated the script a lot more the second time I watched it versus the first time, since I knew it was kind of going to happen. I could pay attention to other things. And I think Coogler did such a good job of setting up all the side characters and them each getting kind of a scene so that when the end of the movie comes, you definitely care about them and have a connection to them. I think the setting is really interesting. It's set in the 30s, obviously, in Mississippi. The costumes, the score, all of that are fantastic in this movie. It really is just kind of the entire package. And it really kind of switches from the beginning of the movie to the midway through the end. The middle of the movie through the end kind of turns into a vampire movie, whereas the first part is more kind of learning about these characters, kind of assembling a crew for them to open this juke joint. But I liked both parts of the movie equally, and I felt like when we got to that vampire part of the movie, it was well earned and deserved at that point in the movie, and there was a lot of suspense there in terms of who's possibly going to turn into a vampire next and what might happen and how are they going to get out of this situation. Um, and so yeah, Sinners, number 4.
Excellent. I think, yeah, we both really enjoyed that movie. And what did you say? You just said something that I was like, oh, I know what it was. This is not, it is a shameless plug, but it's not going to help us. But Amy Poehler, I mentioned her earlier. She just won the Golden Globe for Best Podcast. She does Good Hang, which I love. It has been one of my favorite discoveries of 2025. If you're looking for a pick me up because the world is dark right now, if you listen to the episode, any of them are hysterical, but she did one with Ryan Coogler, and he is such a delightful human being, and they have such a good banter. And he talks about preparing the movie centers. He talks about Chadwick Boseman. It's a fantastic episode, and it was recent, so I highly recommend that for people, especially if you're just sad about the state of the world right now. Okay, my number three is a movie you haven't seen yet, so it's not going to be on your list, Jared. It's Sentimental Value, nominated for quite a few Oscars. Like I said, all four main cast members are nominated for Oscars. It was so good. I think I particularly felt this movie just because of things going on in my life currently with family, with my own family. But it talks about kind of the damage that family can do to us, whether extended or your nuclear family. How words can have such an impact on people. Like if a parent says something to you about how they feel about you, how that doesn't just go away. Whereas if someone that didn't know you on the street said something, it wouldn't affect you. Um, and also kind of what we want our memories to be of parents, and also how the dynamic changes as you become an adult with parents, how it's different than it used to be when they were the ones parenting you, for lack of a better word. It is mostly subtitled. There is some English in it, obviously, because Elle Fanning is in it. Beautiful film. The setting is so good. The musical score was beautiful. Really good movie. I have a lot of good things to say about it.
Nice. That is one that I have definitely wanted to watch, and I feel like it may have been in my top 10 if I had been able to see it before we did this recording. But I've heard nothing but good things about Sentimental Value, and I'm very excited to watch that one before the Oscars. So my number three is one that you already mentioned. That was Train Dreams, directed by Clint Bentley, starring Joel Edgerton. Again, all the reasons you kind of said. I watched this movie on a Saturday morning, and it was kind of dark outside still, and I had a cup of coffee, and I just felt like that was like the perfect setting to sit down on Netflix and kind of watch this movie. And such a moving film as well. One that I thought when I started it, I didn't know how impacted I was going to be by it, but by the end I really felt impacted by this man and his story and his life and his loss. And everything else that factored into the movie as well. You mentioned kind of, how technology was advancing and transportation was advancing and things of that nature. That's a big theme throughout the movie too. Beautiful, beautiful movie to look at. The cinematography is fantastic. The setting is great as well. And so if you've not checked this one out, I think you need to be kind of in a frame of mind that you're prepared to kind of sit down and just spend 90 minutes and not be distracted by anything else. But if you can do that, and if you can have that ability to watch that on Netflix, then I would highly recommend it because it is a really good movie.
Yeah, Train Dreams was pretty astonishing and beautiful. Everything about the movie is just beautiful. I've been putting actually some of the quotes, some of the movies I watched recently that are nominated that I watched really quickly, like within the last week or so. I would include a quote that really stuck out to me. And a lot of it, obviously, you need context. But the one that stuck out to me in Train Dreams, I think is extremely relevant to today. So I wanted to share. Um, the man that he portrays, there's you can tell there's just violence, unnecessary violence. They even talk about deportation of Asian people in the film and how that was happening at the beginning of the turn of the century in the early 1900s. And this man is just murdered in front of Joel Edgerton's eyes. And there's a narrator throughout the whole film, which is Will Patton from Remember the Titans. If anybody remembers the coach, he was the perfect narrator for that film. I like gasped when I figured out who it was. But he said Grainer was baffled by the casualness of the violence, and that immediately I got my phone and wrote that quote down because I was like, yes, like that. I just think that violence is permeating our world. It's in a lot of the films we've even mentioned today, and it's so interesting that a lot of violence has just turned into this casual thing, which is alarming and scary. Speaking of violence, though, my number two pick for the year is One Battle After Another. Definitely a contender for Best Picture. There's a lot of talk about it. It deserves the talk. It was a movie that when I came out, I felt really conflicted about, did I just love what I saw or did I hate it? And I think if I re listened to the podcast episode, I would feel differently than I did when we recorded it. I cannot stand Sean Penn as an actor or a person. So that really was hard for me. But other than that, I just thought the film was pretty astounding what it was trying to get across. And it's really well done. And there's so much you can't ignore, like even if they aren't your favorite people or whatever, the cinematography, the editing was like incredible, absolutely incredible. And it's another one like Sinners, where there's a lot of like racial tension and topical moments. And the one thing I remember Jared and I talked about that I was really impressed with was Paul Thomas Anderson did such a good job talking about issues that are occurring today, but without shoving it down your throat. And I think that there's a real talent in writing like that. So One Battle After Another is my number 2 pick.
My number two is one that you already mentioned earlier, but I don't think it made your list, and that was Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. So this is number two for me. This is my favorite Knives Out movie. I enjoy all three of them, but this one I really, really loved. I thought the mystery aspect of this one was super duper strong. I loved the setting of like the New England church. I thought Josh O'Connor was fantastic in this movie. Daniel Craig was great as usual. Has a lot to say about religion, especially like small town religion, and how much are you actually following what the religion says versus following just the person that kind of is the leader of the church, which or your congregation, which is Josh Brolin in this movie. And I thought it was just really, really clever, super well done, funny, like all the Knives Out movies are. And I could watch like five more of these. I mean, I just Ryan Johnson just keep making them because I thought this was fantastic. Would have loved to have been able to see this one in a theater. I think that would have been really cool.
Mm.
Netflix was good, but I think being able to see it in a theater would have been awesome. But I just really enjoyed that one, and my favorite like mystery movie of the year.
Wow. Okay. I that was exactly the one I was talking about when I said I have a feeling one of my honorable mentions is going to be on your list.
Okay.
I also thought Blue Moon would be too, but I am surprised it's number 2. But that makes so much sense, and I also loved that film. It was just again that's another one where it was a runner up because there were so many good films to choose from. But I'm with you. Like I that it might be my favorite of the franchise so far. I can't really decide, but I thought it was so good, and it was a that was a real surprise for me. Okay, my number 1 of the year. I don't think anyone is going to be shocked here, especially if you heard me on the podcast, but it's Hamnet. And Hamnet might have been the biggest surprise for me too, because I was dreading this movie, dreading, like to the point where I almost didn't go. I almost didn't even go the day I had tickets already purchased for this film. Um, I knew that for personal reasons currently and because of my family setting in general, I knew that seeing a child die was going to be a bit much. And I just knew it was going to be a gut punch, and it was, but it was so worth it. And part of it was the experience of this film, of going to see this by myself, but in a completely packed theater where everyone was weeping, men and women of all ages, openly crying. And those scenes at the end just absolutely got me. Just where you could see how shared grief is an experience that everybody can like really harness. And also the fact that like I talked about this in our podcast review, but how movies were meant to be experienced this way, the same way that sharing emotions and events like grief also bring people together. And I think that is eerily close to what we're seeing today in the news, how people, if there are causes they believe in, if there are bad things that are happening, people band together, and there is a lot of power even in shared grief. But it was a gorgeous film. I don't know if I can ever watch it again. Jessie Buckley, give her the Oscar. Gorgeous film. And I love William Shakespeare. I mean, come on. If you're going to make a movie about Shakespeare, I'm obviously going to see it, and I'm going to be into it 100%. But Hamnet is my number 1 film of 2025.
I think that I could sense that was probably going to be your number one pick. I didn't know you really connected to it and really enjoyed it. And Jacoby Jupe too, the kid that plays Hamnet, great in the movie. Really
So,
makes
so
you feel
good.
for him. So yeah, that's a really good one. Again, I just feel like I didn't connect with it quite as much, but it was still in my top 10. So I think it's, the fact that it's in both of our top tens is a pretty solid film. So my number one, which you probably could have guessed, is One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. What a thrill ride this is. This is just such a interesting movie. This movie's almost 3 hours long. It doesn't feel like it's 3 hours long at all. Right from the get-go, you are locked in and you are interested in what this movie is doing. This whole like kind of cat and mouse game of Leo trying to save his daughter being pursued by Sean Penn. Of course, his daughter's played by Chase Infinity. Everybody gives a great performance. Benicio del Toro is great, and like he shows up for like 20 minutes, and again, he got a Best Supporting Actor nomination out of it. But his character is really funny and really well done. Thought the script was great. I thought the car chase at the end of the movie was one of the most unique car chases I have ever seen in a movie. Maybe it might be the most unique car chase I've ever seen. And the fact that it's such a slow moving car chase, but the tension that you feel during it is probably higher than the tension I felt during any movie this year in terms of what is going to happen. This is honestly crazy. And then the way it ends, some other things you think might possibly happen. So, I just thought it was a really, really well made movie. You could tell that Paul Thomas Anderson and Leonardo DiCaprio were totally locked in on this. Definitely had a clear vision of kind of what they wanted to do with the movie in terms of Leo's performance. And I know he also produced this movie too. And then PTA directing it and writing the script and everything. It will probably win numerous Oscars. Just like Hamnet will win numerous Oscars for sure. So yeah, one battle after another. My number one, my favorite movie of the year.
Excellent. Jared, this is, I think, the first year we've ever had where we didn't have the same thing listed at all, like in the same spot. And I did count, we have 6 movies that both of us had in our top 10. Superman, Sinners, Hamnet, Train Dreams, Marty Supreme, and One Battle After Another. And then we both had mentioned Wake Up Dead Man, either in honorable mentions or your list, and Blue Moon in honorable mentions of the list. But what a good, I think it's cool we have some consensus, but it does make sense to me. Our list makes sense to me. Like your list makes sense, it belongs to you, and mine makes sense, it belongs to me. But it was a good year for movies.
It was. It was a great year for movies, and that's our top 10 of 2025. We did have a few other things that we wanted to mention just really quick before we wrap up here, just a few other quick categories. One that we decided on was a movie that holds up, a movie maybe from older time, might be a couple years old, might be decades old, but one that we rewatched this year that we thought still really delivers.
Yes. So mine, I'll keep it quick, but it's 3 Days of the Condor, which was made in 1975. It is starring Robert Redford. I rewatched it right after he passed because I was so devastated that he had died. Robert Redford, Jane Fonda, and Max von Sydow. It was directed by Sidney Pollack. The Robert Redford, his code name is Condor. He works for the CIA. And in 72 hours, almost everyone he trusts is going to try and kill him. He's a bookish researcher, like CIA researcher. He comes back from like a lunch break and all of his coworkers have been murdered, and he has to figure out what's happened, and then people try to kill him. It is such a good movie. But if you love any kind of spy thing, any kind of like CIA movie or anything, or if you love Robert Redford, it is a great, great film to watch.
I have never seen that one, so I'll have to add that to my
so
list.
Good. So good.
So my pick is unfortunately from a person that passed away earlier this year, but I watched this movie before they passed away, and that is When Harry Met Sally by Rob Reiner.
Good.
So I watched this actually a few weeks before Rob Reiner passed away. Rewatched it, and I just feel like it's the perfect romantic comedy. Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan. The script is perfect. The characters are great. It's very, very funny. It's 90 minutes. It's a breezy movie. But it feels like a real relationship, which I feel like a lot of romantic comedies don't really get that right. And When Harry Met Sally definitely gets it right. And they kind of go from enemies to friends to lovers throughout the course of the movie. But it is such a rewatchable movie and just so enjoyable. I mean, I think I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times now, and every time I laugh at the jokes. I just enjoy the characters, and that scene at the end always gets me when Harry is talking about all the things he likes about Sally.
Yes.
And it's all these like just kind of mundane things that he
how
really
she orders
about
food.
Her. Yep. Yeah. It's just such a sweet scene. So
yeah. Oh, so good. So good. Then another category we did is a movie we watched that it didn't necessarily have to be from 2025, but a popular movie we watched that surprised us. Mine, a lot of people probably won't have heard of. It's Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. I saw this at that small independent theater with my old neighbor Adam. He's so fantastic. He always finds these cool movies to watch. Shout out Adam. And it's starring Camille Rutherford, Pablo Pauly, and Charlie Anson, directed by Laura Piani. It was from 2024, so it is a recent film. I knew nothing about this. I didn't even know the synopsis. He just said, "Do you want to go to the movies?" I said, "Yes." I went. It was so freaking good. But this author, she's an aspiring author, and she basically wins like a residency program, a writing residency. So she gets to go to this gorgeous house, kind of in the countryside. I can't remember now if it was England. I think it had to be England, but it wasn't like Jane Austen's property. But she loves Jane Austen. But it was so cool because actually it might have been France. I can't remember. But when the movie started, she works at Shakespeare and Company, which is in Paris, and
Okay,
I
yep.
recognized it right away. I was like, I've stood right there. I knew exactly what the building was. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been there. That's Paris. That's Paris. And so that was really cool. But it's a delightful movie. It's very funny. She has all these embarrassing things happen at this residency thing while she lives there for the summer. There's definitely some romance involved, but it was such a charming film. Again, that's called Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. So please watch it if you get the chance.
So mine is a movie from 1999, which I had never seen, and that is The Talented Mr. Ripley with Matt Damon, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Blanchett, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Stacked cast for this movie. Obviously, every this is before everybody in that movie kind of got super duper big, but this is a really loaded cast. This is a psychological thriller that takes place in Italy. The setting is really cool. And I just thought the story was really interesting as well. Basically, Matt Damon is trying to get Jude Law to come back to America, and he's sent over there by Jude Law's father. And so then you have Gwyneth Paltrow, who plays Jude Law's girlfriend. And so lots of stuff going on in this movie. But I really liked it. I heard people talk about it, and I'd never seen it before, and I found it at I think Half Price Books or something like that. Like the DVD was $3, and I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and buy it, and I'll just watch it and see how it is. And it really surprised me. I thought it was a really good psychological thriller. Have you seen The Talented Mr. Ripley?
I have, and it deserves a rewatch, but I have rewatched it before. I remember I didn't know anything about that movie when I started it. I just knew hot people were in it, and I was shocked by the murders. I was like,
I
oh,
know. I really knew nothing going into it either, and I was just like, oh,
yeah.
people are
But you
dying left and
know,
right.
you know what I did watch last year, though? Funny you mentioned that. I did watch the show Ripley that was on Netflix that Andrew Scott plays him, and that was really good. And Dakota Fanning's in it. That was good.
So our final category is a movie that we disliked, a popular movie that people raved about, but that we did not like at all. What is your choice for this?
Jared, you haven't seen it yet. I hate to do this to you because you might watch it. If I had legs, I'd kick you. I gave this 1.5 stars. I hated this movie. It's within 5 minutes. I think I had texted Arjun because he wasn't with me, and I said, I think I'm going to hate this film. In 5 minutes, Jared, I had already been like, no, this isn't going to do it for me. Rose Byrne is nominated for Best Actress for this. And what is it, Benny Safdie? Who just did Marty Supreme? He's a producer on it.
Benny.
Josh?
Yeah, yeah.
Benny? Okay, so
Uh,
he's a producer on it.
I always forget.
I know. I don't.
It's
One of them produced this film.
Josh. Josh directed Marty
Josh.
Supreme. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So big year for him. Conan O'Brien's in it, and ASAP Rocky was like an actor in it, and he did a good job. But I hated this. It was directed by a female director, Mary Bronstein. She actually has a small role in the film. I wanted to like it. I watched it because everybody I know loves Rose Byrne, and I really like her, and I thought this must be good. And uh, I kind of get the point. They're talking about like moms and how much is required of moms and the anxiety that comes with being a mom and how easily you can get overwhelmed and stressed. And she's caring for a very ill child that you never see in the whole film, and you never really know what's wrong with her. But the things that happened to her, the whole thing, I have not personally done acid, but I feel like I know what it's like because I watched this film. It was like I dropped acid and then just sat and watched this, and that was what I witnessed. And it just kept getting worse. It was more traumatizing, dark. Things were not explained. I checked the time. I don't even know how many times I looked at my phone to be like, how much longer? How much longer? And sometimes there was one time I checked and it had been like, there was like 17 minutes left. And I checked and there was 15 minutes left. And I thought it had been 20 minutes and it had been two. And it's not even a long film. And it costs $6, I think, to rent it. But God bless. I think people tried their best. This movie just was not for me. But I was so angry when I finished it. I was just like, I can't believe I watched that. I hated it. Hot garbage.
Okay,
Sorry. I'm
there we go.
sorry. I just didn't get it. I'm not the audience for it. So I didn't get it.
That's fair. So, my movie that is going to qualify for this category is Avatar: Fire and Ash. Look, I've been a defender of the last two Avatar movies. Avatar 1, pretty good.
Don't defend it.
Avatar 2, Way of Water, not bad. Avatar 3, Fire and Ash. I didn't even make it through this whole movie, so I'm going to tell you my experience. I went and saw this on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. in 3D, of course, as you do. I have AMC A-list, so it was no skin off my back, really.
No.
Fell asleep about 20 minutes into the movie for probably about 20 minutes, woke up, and then sat there for another 45 minutes. So it was about an hour and a half into the movie. And I was like, nope, I just walked out of it. I was like, I do not want to waste another hour and a half watching Avatar: Fire and Ash. So
wow.
Really, really bad. They have made this decision to focus on this character named Spider, who is a human that lives with the avatars. I don't know why that has become the focus of this series. He's not interesting at all. The guy that plays him is not very good. I'm more interested in the avatars and like the science fiction part of that. And it just felt like this was really a rehash of the second one. The same plot points of things were like kind of happening in this third one that happened in the second one. And so I'm just out. I think I'm out on Avatar now. I do not think I will finish this.
Thank God. Two less people in the world who are going to watch Avatar.
And why is it 3 hours, James Cameron? You're like, I have so much stuff to pack into it. It could have been 90 minutes. If it would have been, honestly, if it was probably 2 hours, I probably would have stayed and finished it if I knew I had another half an hour left. But the fact that I knew I was going to be in there for another hour and a half was
I cannot
making it my least favorite. And I know people didn't like it as much as the other two, but it's still not super poorly rated. I'm going to look right now.
Well, and I feel bad saying what I'm saying about a female director. If I had legs, I'd kick you. I think there's certain things to these films that probably they're just for a different audience, and Fire and Ash wasn't for you. And
no, 7.4 on IMDb. That's pretty high. 66 on Rotten Tomatoes. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, which is crazy. This movie's 3 hours and 17 minutes long. Does not need to be that long.
Let me check that on. Okay, so If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You on IMDb is 6.7.
Okay.
But on Rotten Tomatoes, it's getting. Let's see what audience says versus critics. 79 Avatar for audiences and critics 92%.
Avatar has a 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't know. You know what, though? I don't feel bad if the general consensus right now in America is saying they like something and I disagree. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but, wow. I mean, visually stunning as all the Avatar movies are, but that only gets you so far. That was a really cool gimmick in the CGI. First one. And now
it's not real life. Like a computer did it for you.
That's why I thought it was hilarious that Avatar got nominated for costume design at the Oscars. What costumes? It's all computer generated pretty much. So Avatar, no.
But other than these, I'm glad we do this. I think it's fun to do this, but I do think in general, hopefully it's come across to you all today, there were a lot of really good films in 2025. And I like the direction that movie making is going. And I know all the companies are firing talk show hosts and they're fighting over who's going to own what and blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of good movies being made. So good for that.
Yes, there are. So our top 10, those are all great movies. These movies were not as good. But overall, really good year for movies. So There you go. That's this episode of the Silver Screen Podcast. You can follow us on social media at Podcast Silver. Also, be sure to follow us on Letterboxd as well, where we post all our thoughts on great movies like Avatar, Fire and Ash, and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. And you can also see our thoughts on some of our movies that were our favorite movies of the year as well. So that is it for this episode. Next up, we're going to kind of do like a Oscars What We Missed type episode, where we kind of talk about some of the movies that are nominated that we haven't seen yet or that we didn't do episodes on, just kind of quick conversations on a couple of those. And also it will be after the BAFTA awards, so we'll cover the BAFTAs as well, going into the Oscars, which are in the middle of March. So a couple weeks until our next episode, but we are excited, and we're going to keep watching stuff. I know I still have stuff to watch for the Oscars that I need to get knocked off my list.
And I'm grateful. That gives me a little bit of time to kind of see if I can get some of those shorts or documentaries in. But thanks for sticking with us on this episode. It is one of our favorites of every year.
We do really enjoy doing it, and we hope you enjoy listening to it, and we hope you enjoyed our top 10 movies.
Until next time, we'd like to thank the Academy.